All right, today is a political video, and it is about Democrats' lies, especially President Biden's lies concerning gas prices and the Keystone XL pipeline. My impetus for making this video largely concerns an interesting lie I've been seeing spread around Twitter, but we're going to get to that in a second and start with just the general lie that the war in Ukraine has caused these insane record gas prices. That's a lie. Gas prices have been going up since the second Biden took office, over $1 up since Biden took office prior to the war in Ukraine, where it has raised another $2 nationally on average. So, enormous economic fail. And that has to do with the shutdown of the Keystone Pipeline. Now, what's fascinating about the Keystone Pipeline, particularly lies being told about it, is I'm seeing this lie that's getting a lot of traction on Twitter, that the Keystone Pipeline would have had no effect on gas prices in America because it was being used to ship oil out of the United States. That's a lie. It was being used to move oil rapidly through the United States from as far north as Montana and even from Canadian territories in Alberta down to here. The pipeline was largely a Canadian pipeline to start and was being extended down into the United States. And it also had about 30,000 union jobs attached to it. It had been approved multiple times because it had been sued multiple times, both in Canada, where the pipeline was upheld, and then in America, where it was upheld and then struck down and upheld again. And it had only had a halt put on it again because of some shenanigans considering the Supreme Court, but it was not shut down until Biden officially signed an executive order shutting it down. Now, that would have moved oil again from Canada into the United States, which was one of the reasons why some people found it unpopular in Canada, making false claims that it wouldn't financially benefit Canadians. And it caused a huge problem, and gas prices went up immediately from then on. All right. And I just think it's hilarious that Democrats say stuff that is readily searchable online. I went and looked up the history of the pipeline, what it was for, and what direction it moved, who had started building it, the fact that there were American oil companies that had a stake in it that must have, I guess, seen the writing on the wall because they ended up giving almost the entire stake in the pipeline to Canadian interests, and Biden proceeded to fuck them over. Now, also, it can be easily said that the chief lie about oil production that doesn't ever get discussed is that it wasn't just this pipeline that caused that rise in oil prices. In fact, the pipeline maybe didn't have a significant amount to do with it. It definitely had a good amount to do with it, but what really had to do with it was how much Biden halted fracking, oil drilling, and whatnot on what they call it, government lands. Now, I don't know if you know this, but just about anywhere that isn't private property is pretty much owned by the government. There's no just free range shit where you could go out and stake an oil drilling operation. And Biden halted pretty much all drilling in U.S. borders nationally, just straight up halted it. Now, a good excuse for why he did this, of course, is because Biden is butt buddies with Ukraine, a major oil and natural gas producing nation, and he's butt buddies with Saudi Arabia, who has been making, again, record profits again since this time. And I've seen some people like Sticks, Hex, and Hammer trying to give Obama some credit, saying that we were doing the whole drill baby drill thing. But keep in mind, the first president to go against the Keystone Pipeline was not Biden, it was Obama, because the start of the kind of working of this pipeline into the United States territory occurred as far fucking back as Obama's term. Well, like around 2009, this has been an ongoing process that has unfortunately been repeatedly harried at odds by indigenous people, Indian groups, and my environmental protection agencies, even though pipelines are buried pipes that don't interfere with environments at all. It's a fucking lie. And it's just another scheme going on with the whole climate change cartel. Now, do I deny climate change is real? No, I think climate change is real. Now, what does climate change effectively mean for United States and indeed global policy? It is a scam. Everything is related to carbon taxes and fuckery with oil futures markets, and almost all of it is designed to financially enrich somebody who's in some sort of green energy startup or something like that. It's basically a scam. It's, first of all, if you're a nation that is big and industrious like the United States, and you enter into one of these carbon tax treaty type deals, you'll be paying the taxes to other countries 100% of the time. It's a way to just steal money. It's literally all it is. Period. And the other thing is, in general, climate change people are fucking stupid. They only consider what are the consequences of production of oil. They don't understand what the consequences for the production of lithium is. Okay, first of all, lithium mines, if you thought fucking fracking fields and shit were bad, wait till you see what a lithium mine looks like. Go look them up. There's a lot of them over in Afghanistan. I wonder if that had anything to do with 2001 and the war in Afghanistan at all. Any kind of control of those kind of resources, not just oil, but stuff like lithium. Also, if you've ever wondered where a lot of slave labor in Africa is being used, it's not just in diamond mines, it's in lithium mines and other precious metals mines. And if you think any of that process of mining, transporting, refining, putting into a solar panel, if you think any of that shit is carbon neutral, or in any way particularly all that much more carbon different than just, burning coal, which, by the way, if you want to know where about 96% of the America's electricity production is, burning coal. Yeah, basically it's all a fucking scam. And I gotta tell you, here's the bottom line. If you want to talk about global pollution and environmental protection, 85% of both air and oceanic pollution is caused by two countries, China and India. America is then part of the remaining 15% of air and oceanic pollution. A country this industrious, this large, with this many cars and cows and all of the above, and yet air pollutants are just virtually exclusively from two countries literally on the opposite side of the fucking planet. And if you planning on doing anything about that? And then when you have a look at the nature of actual global trade and the fact that oil is not just something that's either a mass exported or mass imported good, so is shit like food. Africa is currently wondering if they're going to encounter a famine because 96% of Africa's grain supply, now I've heard people again like Sticks, Hex, and Hammer misquote this and saying the world's grain supply, that's a lie, or incorrect, something he misunderstood at the very least. 96% of Africa's grain comes from Russia and the Ukraine, and they're not going to be getting it, and it's going to cause problems. So if you think about it just in this small scale, think about the fact that if you were just to suddenly snap your fingers and all fossil fuels were stopped using, electricity would go out globally, and approximately 6 to 7.5 billion people would starve within a couple of months. You can't escape what's going on here. And now, I'm not the smartest person, or I shouldn't say I am the smartest person. I'm not the most educated person on the climate change issue, but I can tell you one fact that is on generally anti-climate change people's side, which is that every doomsday prediction that has ever been uttered by some libtard in the past 60 years has been proven wrong. We were all supposed to be underwater. The ozone layer was supposed to be gone. Acid rain was supposed to be falling from the sky everywhere. Everything in the ocean was supposed to be dead. All the rivers were supposed to be toxic sludge. All this horrible shit was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. Now, some of it was due to some actual environmental protection shit being enforced a little bit better than it was. And I forget what the word is for it, but I think it's called fluorocarbons, the kind of shit that they were saying was destroying the ozone layer. We generally banned that shit, and the ozone layer healed itself. You haven't heard anybody cry about the ozone layer in about 40 years almost. Okay? So, whenever somebody is virtue signaling about climate change, it should be viewed with the same sort of derision and sneers as feminism. Because yes, women's rights are real, they are important, and yet everything you've heard about women's rights in the past 10 to 15 years has been pure bullshit. The pink tax is bullshit. The women make 77 cents to a man's dollar is a lie. Almost everything a feminist has ever said for the past 30 years has been a lie. Okay? Almost everything a climate change advocate or any of these kind of organizations that are trying to do anything about climate change have been lying and scamming their way through it. So even though it is a fact that global temperatures are rising, almost all of their doomsday predictions, almost all of what they say the consequences of this event have been lies. And not only that, but every last one of their solutions to the problem has been nothing but a tax scam. So you should pay virtually no attention to any of this shit, and you should lay the blame for the United States economic situation, and indeed a lot of Canada's economic situation, on Joe Biden, okay? And particularly on the international interests he's serving in the EU, in NATO, and even in Ukraine, which he has abandoned out of sheer lack of interest of poking the bear with Russia, because he was willing to corruptly deal with the Ukraine for decades to great advantage to himself, but the second that there was any risk to his person, he fucked them over. Now, Joe Biden is the kind of flip-flopper that would make Obama or Hillary Clinton blush. He has not kept a single promise to any of his base. He's not done anything about universal pre-K, not student loan debts, not universal health care. He's done fucking nothing about anything. He's fucked the economy. And of course, a lot of the low rent, low salaried, what's the word I'm looking for? Just basically not poor people, because I don't believe poor people exist in the United States, but the people of the lower class and the working class who are among some of his strongest voting base, especially with minorities, have been completely fucked. And when it comes to the really, really stupid bullshit that minorities have asked him for, like defund the police, fuck them over. Talk to BLM and help us institute any kind of police reform, fuck them over, won't talk to him. Joe Biden should be hated by everybody, and the fact that he still has sycophants is a testimony to the extreme ignorance, arrogance, and disgusting and repulsive stupidity of the American left. Thanks for watching.